Joining me right now is, of course, the inimitable, the ineffable, the ineluctable, and the delectable Lynn's Warriors, who happens to be, public disclosure, my wife. Darling, welcome back to the show that never ends.
Thank you, husband. Thank you for having me today.
Let's get into brass tacks. What everybody needs to know.
Well, there's a lot going on today. In particular, we have something launched right now by great allies of ours called Fair Play for Kids. And they have initiated a lawsuit against Meta, that is Facebook and Instagram, for violating with one of the games they're carrying. It's called Horizons World, that all the kids are accessing for violating the lawsuits against the FCC, the Federal Trade Commission, for violating COPPA, COPPA, which is Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that came about in 1998, and it simply says you can't sell kids information. That's private. And they're violating it, Meta, big time. And Fair Play has come out swinging. They have a whistleblower who used to work at this Horizons World, this gaming platform app, and they are going after them tooth and nail. And you know what? I have to say, we do have a lot of hope in the last month with all of this child predation and legislation. But at the same time, I'm noticing a lot of things like this, like Meta. Why would they do this? This is a direct violation. Kids are signing on. Here's the thing, there's just a box, like check off that, you are 18 or something like that. Check off you are 16, but there's no kind of verification. So 10-year-old kids are checking off and now playing this game, and all their information is being shared. So I think this is very, I want to ask you as a lawyer, there are a lot of lawsuits percolating just in the last week about all of this. I don't know where this can go because it seems to me like everybody could sue everybody with this whole internet and the AI coming and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the good news is I like the fact that they're doing some kind of litigation to let people later on sort through it. At least something's being done. Because with this lawsuit, a court, maybe the legislature itself, the Congress, will find out who has standing, what constitutes a violation. A lot of times these procedures or these laws don't have teeth. You wonder, okay, if they violate them, who suffers the pain of this? Who suffers the violation and that sort of thing? So anyway, I think this is good news. We'll get to that later on. Whether when you say, "Are you 18?" Put it this way: I find myself, and I'm sure you have as well, sometimes doing those captchas. Which one of these are steps? Which of these are traffic lights? I go through more effort, and sometimes I'm turned down. No, I'm sorry, do that again. As opposed to, are you 18? Yes. I think that's odd that you would have to spend, and this is just going on an app that's pretty benign. But the
But
thing
that's
though
my
is that,
that's my point, because I've
right,
had to find fire hydrants or
right,
traffic lights over and over, and they say, and I think I'm right, and you have to do it again. You're not right. But the kids, everything with the kids really
that's
seems
right.
seems very lax to me.
Well, I think they don't want there to be any kind of an impediment. They want somebody to check the box. But anyway, but very very carefully. We cannot. We're going to use words like the R word. It rhymes with grape. We're going to use words that we don't want to get flagged by YouTube in terms of this. So we will speak kind of generically.
Hmm.
But you were telling me the substance of
Hmm.
some of these games, and to call them a game is just incredible. What are we
Hmm.
actually talking about here in terms of what is being uh, quote? And I use word played.
I'll have to really think, because I don't even know how to describe this, except there is a game now that was just released fairly recently called No Mercy. And I think everybody should do their homework, roll up their sleeves, and look and see for themselves what this No Mercy is about. Because this is something that is promoting everything that goes against, I guess I should say, child safety. I'm trying to skirt around the issues a little bit. But I don't even want to call this a game. I want to call this a crime scene. And I'm going to leave it at that. Again, our great allies collective shout out of Australia that we work with, they have started a petition, And I would like everybody, when they do their homework, or they can go to my X account or Facebook and look where to sign on to that petition, because there's not going to be one person when they look up what this is about, No Mercy, that won't want to sign on to this petition. Let me leave it like that.
Now, some of these we talked about. You mentioned some of these things called bro games or bro. We're
Bro
not necessarily
culture, bro
bro
culture.
culture. We're not necessarily talking about the Tate brothers per se, though they have often been sometimes brought into this discussion. We talk about words like incels and the like. Um, this is I just put in, if you will, in Chat GPT. No Mercy, they said, is a controversial adult video game. Now, right off the bat, this is according to ChatGPT, developed by Zerat Games and released on the Stream platform on March 22nd of this year. The game is a 3D choice driven visual novel that centers on themes of, there is an, I can spell it INCEST, I will spell it, and male dominance, allowing players to assume the role of male character who engages in non-consensual um, sexual
See,
activities.
it's hard to describe this.
Non-consensual sexual. And this is, by the way, this is Chat GPT, and this is it cites Cyber News and LBC. But listen, who engages in non-consensual sexual activities with female family members, including the protagonist's mother and aunt. The game's promotional material encourages players to, quote, become every woman's worst nightmare and to never take no for an answer. Now, let me say this is Chat GPT. And my question was, what is the new game, No Mercy, and why is it objectionable? The
I don't know what you
objection,
mean. I don't know what you mean by that. This is Chat
no,
GPT, because where does that information come from? Because there's a lot
okay,
more to that
it
description than just that.
okay, it cites Cyber News, LBC,
Do you know what those
Change.
sites are?
Pardon me?
Do you know what those sites are? Because
Yeah,
it's you have to see where the sources are, where it's cited from.
that's what I'm saying.
Depends where they come from as
The
well, the
first one, the
information.
first one is called Cyber News, and this article says Vile R game No Mercy removed from stream after backlash. This was April the 10th. LBC Fury over R and INCEST game. Then there's change.org. Remove No Mercy game. LBC Games and Industries. So what ChatGPT does is it gives you the stories, but it has the citations of where they get this news from. This is, I just went through the first paragraph of this. Who in their right mind is suggesting attacking mothers and aunts and showing no mercy?
So
This is,
that's
I'm sorry.
no, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just so upset that you let me go back to something, they say it's for adults. They do that on most of these games, but that's the problem, because we know kids and teens are easily um signing on to all of these things. There's no checks and balances for this. We have to come up with some sort of system. I think that falls on the tech platform to do this. This platform that this No Mercy is on, Steam is the platform. A lot of problems. I mean, they're not the only one. All of these platforms. This one in particular, we had a situation with them about 2 years ago with something similar, but not this bad, in my opinion. And I want to also point out something. They take the words like bro culture. That used to mean like guys hanging out, smoking cigars, drinking some beers. They've twisted that now. There's a whole new meaning in the last few months, and it is really disliking. I'm trying to describe these things without using words I would
Mhm.
use to describe them, but really disliking girls and women and doing them harm. And that's what it has become now. It's becoming, that is what the bro culture is becoming, along with that word incel, which used to mean something else. They're just taking words that have been there and giving them new
Well, it meant
meanings.
involuntarily celibate, but then it was also used in conjunction with a lot of these shooters or survey or assailants and assassins, and it became almost kind of a synonym for crazed homicidal lunatics.
but also, because I've read many different things also, a strong dislike for girls and
Yes.
women. They were including that in that incel description where it used to not be there.
We've got to, irrespective of the Tate brothers and their presumption of innocence, I don't know anything about those things, just in terms of what they have just said and what, forget
Yes.
trials, just what I'm seeing online, it's vile. Where did this come from? Where did this, let me just go back a little bit. A while back, there was this idea that you've heard about soy boys, this kind of highly estrogenated, wimpy, low testosterone, kind of a weird, radical left tranny. I mean, just these words, and they kind of merge. We boys were not boys anymore, and then we were losing low T, and then all of a sudden we got into this notion about being masculine, and somehow that then traversed into being violent. I don't know where people get off. They love this Conor McGregor. Apparently, they don't know. And again, accusations don't mean proof. But dear heavenly God,
I would look, I don't even know what to say, which is a lot for me because I always have a lot to say. I mean, I it's really being shoved into our faces. And I started out when we started for all the good happening and hope in this field of predation, legislation, educating the public. I am really noticing underneath an uptick in all of what we're talking about right now, which I'm afraid, everybody likes this low hanging fruit. They'll concentrate on the easy stuff we're hearing about. While all of this is true horror going on, there are no words for this. I can't even call that No Mercy a game. That is not. That is a crime scene to me, right? And this is what our kids. So let's go there for a second if you want to talk about it. There really is a war on for our children. I mean, this is the way, on many fronts, this is the way I really look at all of this, and I don't hear many people really talking about it.
if I had and please bear with me, I'm giving this only as a as an example. If I had a game where black people were hunted, where we were Klansmen, we were hunting black people or foreign people, or we were some rogue ICE group that went out and broke into homes and pulled people out of you know, I guarantee you, not only would there be a hue and cry from left, but I think a lot of people on the right would say, or whoever is the supporter of that would say, no, 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 this is violent, this is whatever. The very fact that there are people who are quiet about this,
Mm.
and where are, dare I say, the feminists? Do they exist anymore? Do they know anything about this? Do they? Is
They,
this
they don't
not
care. They don't
a
care.
perpetuation and the proliferation of female violence? They're too busy right now keying Teslas with where is the outrage?
I'm thinking about that because this is the question I'm asking myself. The Warriors, we are involved with many other groups, whether it's here in our home state of New York and around the country. And I ask the question constantly when it's, a lot of this predation focuses on girls and women, but we really have to start including boys and men as well because that demo is escalating. And I'm always asking, how are we as women accepting what we're talking about right now? Something like No Mercy. Now, however, the group Collective Shout out of Australia, they're going after this tooth and nail. But you know what? When they started this a few days ago, talking out against this, guess who banned them for a while? Meta banned them for speaking out. Now they've let them talk about it again after the outrage from people. But I'm saying, we are under attack, women and girls,
Do we know what the
and
allegations are? They banned them. Why?
they don't tell why. They just knock them off, and then for a couple of days, and they put them back on. After Collective Shout's very strong, and they were talking out like we got knocked off and this and that, and all of a sudden they're back on. See, that's the other problem.
But
It's
I
the
thought
same.
Zuckerberg. was a good guy now after he appeared before. He was on Joe Rogan's
I
show
just
and he's
told you Fair Play for Kids is suing, okay, Meta. And now we saw Zuckerberg behind the president inauguration day. We see him
Mhm.
on Joe Rogan. We see him here. We see him putting out statements. We're doing everything in our power to protect children. Then why is this all allowed to go on? I want to know, and I want to know why. I want to get back to why the women, all these women shooting their mouths off. Trafficking is bad. Talk up, speak up for survivors, which we all agree is correct. Why aren't we talking more about these issues? The direct attack on women and girls. It goes into the sports, right? It goes into everything. There's a real attack on women and girls, and nobody really seems to be speaking uh, out about it.
and also, but here is the thing that again I want to say. If this could be, if this was 100% unable to be looked at or purchased by children, hypothetically, I don't know how this would happen, but just assume, and this is only for adult consumption, people would still, if it went back to my hypothetical, if this
Mhm.
was a game that showed no mercy for hunting down black people or illegal aliens going in, you were ICE, you were part of this wild, going into a house with Guatemalans and shooting them up, they would say, I don't care whether this is for 85-year-old people. We hate the message. You can't do this. They would shut down the company. But for some reason, when it comes to either games, gaming, children, or in this particular case, family, or women, it's okay. When you say gaming, this is the hotbed of where a lot of extortion comes from gaming. Why? That's where the kids are. Remember, if you're looking for people who attack children and go after children, where do they go? They go where the kids are. What better place to go? Gaming. And by the way, a lot of adults are gaming too. So
But
who's
a lot of our boys in particular are, I mean, girls are too, but the demo really is boys gaming, young men gaming. And I know I interrupted you again, but I'm
that's
like
fine. No, no, please.
I'm so frustrated with all of this. If we're recognizing it, we're talking about it, why is this allowed? But also with the gaming, that's where a lot of this incel and bro culture has been simmering and now is exploding on the gaming itself, on that platform, those
Mhm.
platforms.
So where are first of all, let's go through this again. Who is complaining about this? Who are the parties? What's being done now as we speak?
Now, are we speaking about, which are we speaking about? We're speaking about the No
No
Mercy.
mercy. No mercy.
So No Mercy right now, it was brought to everybody's attention. It was there on this platform called Steam, right? And, first of all, everybody has to understand these apps, platforms, gaming, they're popping up on a daily basis. So people really can't keep up with what the kids are on, right? Who can look every day to take the time and say, what's the new app today? What's the new platform? If we working in this field, of child safety, can barely keep up with it. I will throw out there a very good source that gives us nuggets of information on a daily basis about all of this. I have to say it is protectyoungeyes.com.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Chris McKenna will break it down. Here's what it is. Here's what you need to do. Here's how you talk to your child. So that's shorthand. Like we need all the help we can get for parents and caregivers and grandparents. Protectyoungeyes.com. I recommend that highly. Also, the Warriors. I always put things out, linswarriors.org. But right now, we've got them being just collective shout is trying to get all the allies across the globe. Remember, they're in Australia to sign this petition, which is change.org. So I believe that's the change.org you mentioned in the chat GPT.
Mm-hmm.
You did say something about change. If people could just sign on to that. And yes, I will also say when you sign on to the change.org, you don't have to give money when after you sign on, it brings you to the next page. Like, would you like to donate? No, you don't have to donate. Just sign on and with your zip code and you go to the next page. Don't be scared off because you see people donating money and all that. You do not have to donate money. but I'm saying we don't know. We've had nobody really as a figurehead uh, come forward in the last few days to take this really on. Collective Shout is at the lead, and also our great friends, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, they're stepping up and they're going to be doing some more, I understand, with this. So we have to keep an eye on this. This is, I mean, would you call this a crime scene? Because when I think children are getting urged to
Well,
do things, I think that that's like it's the same thing with the Tates, with their online school, telling men, what to do to women, advising them how you can do,
well,
like,
you know
what
what's
is that
interesting?
legally?
Without going into detail, it has often been said that sometimes very bad people, when they involve children, will have children do things either to animals or whatever to desensitize, to break them of their ability or their inclination to show feeling. So this, over a period of time, immersing them. Look, people, I think, took more interest in wondering whether saturation of violence did something to affect kids, whether it habituated them, whether it conditioned them. Well, if
Mhm.
that's true, then what does this say? I mean, if you're a young, impressionable person and you were told, in essence, this is the object of a game to traumatize, to desecrate mothers, aunts, family, women, where women are the enemy, put it this way, tell me how that benefits them. Tell me how their conviviality and their sense of I don't know what the word is, their sense of community is somehow, I don't know what the word is. Tell me how that somehow benefited. Tell me how kids are made better, how they're improved, how their stock is, their metal is steeled. I mean, seriously, how does this help anybody? How can it possibly be good? We're not talking about lyrics. We're not talking
Mhm.
about even looking at quote pornography. We're talking about a game that rewires them into thinking all of a sudden
Mhm.
not only that women are the target, but show no mercy. What is mercy? Compassion, empathy, sympathy, feelings. It almost is like it's breeding the psychopath.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That is what is, and what better way to do it than a game? I mean, let's face it.
Habituating, yeah,
Exactly. Well, let's
habituating the
do this.
kids.
What can people do now if they want to be involved?
Well, I would recommend that you go on the Lynn's Warriors X account. You will see the posting and you will see the link where you can click on for the change.org
Mhm.
petition. At last counting, about an hour ago, I saw it was only at 10,000 something. We should be having millions of signatures on this. It costs you nothing. And I think, numbers count. We have had successes with campaigns where, for instance, Pornhub, we did on change.org, and that garnered
Mhm.
over 2 million, I believe. And that started, having people look at everything and take action about things. So
Now,
believe it or not, it's numbers. But the other thing is, you really have to talk to your child or be aware somehow without pointing fingers. I don't want anybody to go, for instance, to their 15-year-old son today and be like, I just heard this information about this no mercy. And are you looking at that? Of course, a child's going to say, no, no. We have to have these open conversations,
mhm.
like, how was your day today? Oh, you're going to go gaming for a while? Well, I'm curious because I don't game. What kind of games are you looking at? We have to try to come at things. It sounds
Right.
very
How
easy
does
and
that
stupid,
work?
but we have to do things like that.
Show me. It's almost like, show me, how does that work?
Yes.
You mentioned Chris McKenna. There are ways also that parents who think that for some reason, look, I have no control over what my kids watch. Oh yes, you do. Oh yes, you do. By the way, if you go to the Lynn's Warriors website, you can have resources of that as well. So parents just can't sit back and say, "Oh well,
No.
what are you going to
Wait,
do?"
wait, we really, this is an American crisis. What do you do? We ask why all of this happens. I rack my brain every day, and the only answers I can come up with, number one, there's a lot of money being made.
Yes.
right, from all of this. They don't care about kids. They don't care about morals. People care about making money.
But
They
let me stop
really
for a second.
don't. And then the other thing, let me just
Mhm.
finish before I forget, uh, creating chaos in society.
Okay.
There's no other way to look at all this.
Number one, this is not about pornography. Let me just say something right now. Nobody's going after pornography, consensual adults. The word porn, it's not pornography. I don't know what people think of porn, nude, sex. That's not it. That's
I'm,
number one.
I'm, I'm talking about minors all the time. I'm talking about
Right, right.
children.
But we're not talking about just nude. We're not talking about nude pictures of women or pornography that people. This is not the day of Playboy is over. But the most important thing is they could have done anything. They could have decided, okay, we want to have a game called No Mercy where we torture animals. That would have been done. That would have been taken down immediately. That would have been done so fast. PETA, whatever. You would have, if it had been animals, think about this. I mean, just hurting them, it would have been taken down. So, of all the things in the world that these folks decide, how about going after strangers? Okay. How about kidnapping teachers? No. This is women focused, but women hatred, women being targeted, but family members. They're trying to break all of the, not taboos, but all of the societal restraints. They could have
Yes.
picked anything they wanted. They could have, it could have been religious. Let's get somebody wearing a hijab, somebody with a keffiyeh, it could be if it was anti-Semitic, if it was called, I'm sorry, get the Jew, it would have been immediately taken down. And for good reason, that's fine. But for some reason, I don't know why, this is like, well, that's what I don't understand, how we have this selective outrage. So we're going to have all of this information. I'm going to put it all up. And for those who are watching Lynn's Warriors on YouTube, Lynn's Warriors, subscribe right now on X or Twitter, Lynn's _ Warriors. We will have all of those little links there. And this is something which we want people to be aware of. Thank you as usual for being with us. And parents, you know what to do right now. So thank you.
And thank you for having me. And I'd like to just add two little things.
Mm-hmm.
I like to give some homework, take actions always with the Warriors. And there's something right now, a 3-part series on Netflix called Bad Influence. It's about kids whose parents, there's one case in particular, have become YouTube stars. And the question I ask you is, when, as reported in this 3-part series, kids are working up to 15 hours a day just recording videos.
Mm.
And they're not in school. So when they bring up they're not in school, I have to ask you, who's watching that shop? There's that going on, but there is some good news. Something Marsha Blackburn reintroduced, because during the Biden administration, everything fell by the wayside. It's called the No Fakes Act. And that's about owning your intellectual property, with all of the AI, artificial intelligence coming, and AGI. Do you have any thoughts before we leave on that as a lawyer? Because I know it's going to be a little bit tough, but at least it's a positive move. We're
Yes.
putting something in place. What do you think?
I would always love, and I never thought I'd say this, I'd like now to have a bill that I can amend because it's overreaching than to have nothing at all. I know that's 5 years ago, I would have never said this, but at least they're thinking about this. Deep fakes, in some respects, when it comes to fake porn, and I think it's going to go into the defamation area. But also, when you look at deep fakes, you're going to be seeing. I think that Randy Travis's name was. If I were to sample you, if I were to take the sound of Paul McCartney, the type of, if I could throw in everything Paul McCartney has ever written, played, and I have a voice that's similar to Paul McCartney, it's inspired, but it's not Paul McCartney.
Mhm.
What? And we're not talking about tribute bands. Remember, that's a different story. Remember what Lionel's law. The law always lags behind technology. We don't know what to call this. So I like the fact that somebody's at least trying something, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I agree with you. And I'm sure this will go to markup, but at least it's been reintroduced, allowed on the floor to get out there. So people, like you said, are talking about it.
All righty, my darling. I thank you so much. Remember, Lynn's Warriors, and we will talk again. And thank you.
Thank you.